Talent is bullshit. There's no such thing. When people say to someone, "Oh, you're so talented," they seem to think the other person possesses some magical quality that they themselves do not, which of course is nonsense. If there is a skill that you're really interested in obtaining, you simply have to put in the appropriate amount of time and practice to develop that skill. It takes a lot of discipline, hard work, and sacrifice. Sacrifice is a very important part of becoming who you want to be and leaving behind who you once were. I'm going to use 3 examples to illustrate this point, one in art, one in sports, and of course one in music. These people are not talented in my opinion, but rather have developed great skill over time from years and years of practice. They're in no particular order, so let's just start with the sports one, and I'm going to use Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan, 6 championship rings, 6-time NBA Finals MVP, and so on. A lot of people consider him to be the GOAT. Even if you don't agree, he's probably at least in your top 3. Now, some of you may not know that Michael Jordan didn't even make the high school basketball team his sophomore year. He was cut. How could that be if he was so naturally talented? Well, maybe he wasn't. He did an interview with Tony Robbins once, and in response to Robbins asking him how he became the best despite being cut from the team in high school, he said, quote, "What it is every day I demand more from myself than anybody else could possibly expect. I don't compete with other people, I compete with what I'm capable of." So day in and day out, he practiced with that mentality that he was always competing with himself. He would take notice of his weak points that needed improvement, and he was constantly honing that skill. It's not talent, it's skill. Skill is something that you develop from discipline, dedication, hard work, and thousands of hours of practice. Maybe some people do have more natural athletic ability, but that only applies in a very general sense. No one's going to be out there dropping threes all night long if they've never picked up a basketball before. The next example comes from the world of fine art, and I'm going to use myself as the example only because I found a hilariously bad drawing that I did when I was a kid. If you've been watching this channel from the beginning, you might think I was always a musician, but you'd be wrong. For the first 24, 25 years of my life, I was an artist, lots of photography, sculpture, drawing. The form that I gained a little bit of notoriety from was my drawing. Out of college, I had gallery representation, sold quite a few works, and was even published in a book at one point. And you can probably see where this is going. I can't count the amount of times that someone has said to me, "Oh, you're so talented," or "I wish I had a natural gift like you," as if I just had this skill from when I was born. Here's an example of a drawing I did of my grandfather with pastels. Here's a charcoal drawing I did of my friend Anisha, and another one of my friend Pamela P. You might be thinking, "Dude, you are talented, shut up." Okay, well, here's another drawing that I did about 10 to 12 years before those. Yeah, I drew that. Would you look at that drawing and say that kid's got talent? No. Look at it again. So what happened between this drawing and this drawing? Did I get hit with talent lightning? No, I drew non-stop. You see, the people that thought I was talented weren't with me for the tens of thousands of hours I spent drawing as a child. I drew in art class at school, I drew in all my other classes too because I really didn't give a damn about Shakespeare or Pythagoras at the time. And when I got home, I would shovel devil dogs and yodels into my face, and then I would run back upstairs and draw more. And when my friends would come over on the weekends, guess what we'd do? Draw. Yeah. So talent? No. Thousands of hours of practice? Yes. For the music example, we're going to talk about John Williams. Easily the most recognizable film composer alive, and my personal favorite. He has more Oscar nominations than any other living person, and he's second only to Walt Disney. He studied piano at Juilliard. I can't imagine what the practice regimen is at a school like Juilliard. It's probably insane. And then he worked as a studio pianist and session musician with other famous film composers like Goldsmith, Bernstein, and Mancini. He started gaining notoriety for his work in the late 60s when he was in his mid-30s. I think the movie that really cemented his status as one of the best film composers of all time was his first Academy Award win for an original composition in 1975, with the famous two-note ostinato in the movie Jaws. When he composed that, he was 43 years old, and 2 years later, when he was 45, he composed Star Wars, which is probably the most popular and widely recognized film score there is. Now think about that. When he wrote the score to Star Wars, he had been playing and writing music for 40 plus years at this point. So he didn't just come out of nowhere and shit out the best film score of all time. He developed his impeccable skill from decades of practice. Just for fun, here are 2 more examples of what I'm talking about. Adrian Brody in the movie The Pianist. Get your mind out of the gutter. He practiced piano for 4 hours a day to get ready for the role, and he said, quote, "I gave up my apartment, I sold my car, I disconnected the phones, and I left. I took 2 bags and my keyboard and I moved to Europe. He went method, and so can you. It's just a question of mental fortitude and the desire to get so good at something that you're willing to make sacrifices. Michael Phelps is another great example. Listen to this.
I wanted to be the greatest of all time. I went 5 straight years without missing a single day of workout, 365 days a year. Every single day I was in the water.
5 years without a single day off from swimming? That's the athletic version of method acting. So to sum up, there's no such thing as talent. It takes discipline and dedication combined with thousands of hours of practice and personal sacrifice. So the next time you want to compliment someone who's really great in their field, instead of spewing some type of nonsensical word vomit, maybe you should say something along the lines of, "Wow, you have a lot of skill. That must have taken a while to develop." I'm reminded of a quote. It's a little cheesy, but it perfectly sums up everything that I've said today. And it's from Henry Ford, who once said, "Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right."